Yo, what is up? This is going to be a bit of a different video compared to my usual ones, because I have been working on a sort of art style for a project that's coming up, doing with a couple other people. I'm the main 3D artist, and I couldn't get the stylized look right. Excuse me. But then I found a nice way of doing it, and I haven't seen it online, so I figured I should put this out there, maybe help a couple of you guys, because it's pretty low effort, no hand painting, and I think it looks pretty good for what it is. Alright, so come in here and you want to make a new project. I'm going to use 4K since it's a tutorial. It doesn't really matter if the textures are a bit big. Select your file. Everything else here looks good. I opened it wrong before, so we'll just hit discard. And yeah, so here we have the sword that I was working on. And I've already unwrapped it in Blender, so everything's working there. You gotta unwrap it first. And we want to go move my camera so you can see what I'm doing. Go to mode, bake mesh maps, and just bake selected textures. I'm gonna walk you through things like basically, just in case you haven't used Substance before, but it's pretty easy. You get hang of it quickly. All right. So those are finished baking. Move my camera back up there. Back to painting mode. So this is where we get started. I have everything up in one material because it's the easiest way to export textures, trust me. So just want to delete that and create a new group. I'm going to call this one main, and then add a fill layer, and I'm going to call this base. So for this, no roughness, no metallic maps, just go on base color. Probably diffuse, probably be ambient occlusion in there. So I want to just turn off normal and height. And since we want no roughness or metallic maps, I'm going to turn the roughness up to 1 and leave the metallic on 0. And it's important to leave these values here, or like textures you put above it are going to look a little funny. So I should pull this onto my other monitor probably. Now so the reason I was doing this is I have some concept art for the game, and I figured I'd start by texturing one of the weapons. So we're just gonna, let's see, I'll probably snip it so that you don't see the stuff that isn't the sword. Let me just, yeah. So this is what we're going for. Okay, it's under my webcam. This is what we're going for. You can see we got 3 colors. We got like a gold, some sort of like iron or steel, a cloth, and some like gem. So we're going to keep that in mind. We're going to need 4 different layers. So, alright. 4 layers. I got that on my other monitor. So I know how to get started. So I'm going to put my base as the kind of iron steel part. Actually, I'm going to rename this steel just so it's easier for me to see. And what I'm going to do is click this to color pick, and it's going to let me go to my other monitor and color pick the image. Bam. Look at that. It's nice. So I'm not sure what you would do if you don't have another monitor. I guess you would open your reference image in some sort of art software and just copy the hex value and paste it, but this is a very nice feature. So always go in between those images is what I do. Probably cut that out. It's pretty stupid sounding. So what should I do next? So I use a plugin. I'll have it in the description. I'll show you how to do it with the plugin. I'll show you how to do it without the plugin as well, but the plugin's worth it. So I use Simple Diffuse. It's like $30, and this is gonna overwrite whatever you have here. So I think it's only for the base color. Yeah. So we want to come in, and most of these options aren't too important, but we're gonna just get the base color. We want the same as this, and then we want to get shadow, which will be dark but not the darkest. So I'm going to color pick a dark color from the iron. You can see everything's freezing when I click that button. Probably that's Substance does that. That's probably not dark enough. And then ambient occlusion, so I need it to be a bit darker, so I'm just gonna color pick this and then manually bring it down, desaturate it. And you can see this is looking pretty good already. That's why Simple Diffuse is great. It does a lot of the work for you. Like as you can see, there's a gradient. Very, very nice. You can see just with that gradient, that does a lot. And then also the lights. Yeah, it's probably the lights. Those are good. But if you're using simple diffuse, you're going to want to, if you zoom in, you can see very lightly, if I turn the opacity up, without a curvature. We do not want that because we're going to do that manually and it'll look a lot nicer. So, get rid of that. This is looking pretty good. Now, you're probably going to want to do this manually because I doubt you guys are going to want to spend $30. So let me just see if I can figure out a good way of doing it. Alright, so I've added a base color here, same as this one. It's the same color. Then I added another fill layer called ambient occlusion, or AO. So I've used the same color as this over here. And then if I hit add black mask, add generator, you can right click to get that menu up. Click this, and then I want to find ambient occlusion. Should be here somewhere. It's right there, ambient occlusion. Click ambient occlusion. You can see that mine is doing it the wrong way, so I want a global invert. And then I can just play around with this to kind of get the value that I want. I'll turn that down. Turn this up a little. Something like that. It's to add like depth and shadows, so yeah, that's looking pretty good. I actually think maybe it's a little bit too strong, but that's okay. So I'll be back in a second when I figured out the next step. Alright, so I think I figured the next step out. So I just added another fill layer with a black mask, added a generator, and then I set the generator to position. And yeah, you're going to need the mesh maps baked for all of these. And if I just, what's the best way to do it? If I come into this and I just select whether the same color as they used for gradient, it's a gradient dark, which I believe is the bottom. So I just set it to be the same color. If we just do that correctly. And then I want to invert it so it's at the bottom. And then just play with this. I don't want it to be so high. Yeah, this doesn't look exactly the same, but you can get the same gradient effect. No, this is blue. I don't know. I'm going to manually change the colors to be more red. I like them slightly more red. Like this, maybe. And then just keep playing around till you get the values you like. Like, I think that looks pretty good. And then maybe, what if I turn up the contrast slightly? If I blur it? No. Blur isn't. Oh no, the blur actually looks kind of good. There we go, yeah. I like how that looks at the bottom, kind of coming upwards. I want it to be more though. Like this. No, I want to turn the contrast down. So then, I'll call this gradient bottom. And then I'm just going to copy and paste it. Call this gradient top. There we go. And I want to just flip it. Well, it's kind of funny around here. And then I want to turn the balance down so it doesn't go as far. Change this color to like this, but maybe more yellow. Something like this, but I want it to be very soft, so I want it to like basically not exist, only very, very slightly. Yeah, so now you can see this is looking pretty good, all things considered. I didn't put too much effort into it because I'm just going to use the simple diffuse down here. But you get the idea now. If you just manually add the gradients, it works nicely. Yeah, I think it looks pretty good, all things considered. So that's how you do that manually, but I'm just going to leave that off, yeah. It looks pretty similar. Everything I did is a little bit stronger than they did, but yeah, it's pretty close. And we're going to move on to the next like thing, not the next material because that's what these are, but we're going to move on and start with the gold now. Just to block everything out quickly because it gives you a better like visualization of what you're working with. So we're just going to do the same thing as before. Bring up my image, color pick kind of like medium gold yellow color. And this is an important part. You're going to want to click black mask and then add paint. And this is going to allow you to basically paint on where you want to be gold, which is that's pretty cool. And then if you go over here, I think it's this one. Yeah, it allows you to fill in polygons. And this is the one that I use most of the time because I can just click this, fill in, I think this is, what is it? Fill in like group or, yeah, mesh fill. So I click this, fills in the handle area since none of the vertices are attached to the other parts. Same thing there. I'm going to change the gem manually later. Come up here, all this part is gold, so I should click these. And now, just like that, I've got all the gold parts kind of layered out. I'm going to put this down so I can see my recording. Is that showing up? I really hope that wasn't showing up on the recording. Okay, so now we just want to grab simple diffuser. If you're doing it manually, you're just going to want to do the same thing as before. Again, different colors. And just quickly do this. Bring my other thing up. Shadow. I'm going to put shadow to be this one. And then I'm going to just bring this nice and down, saturate it a little more, probably like here is good. And that's looking pretty good now. Nice and simple. The gradient isn't as strong. In fact, you can't really see the gradient actually. Yeah. If I invert it, it's probably very noticeable. Yeah. That's fine though. So I'm not going to show you how to do the manual thing again. So I suppose now we just move on to the next thing, which will be the gem.
The paint layer, base, turn all these off, color, and then I'm going to color pick it, and then black mask, paint. You get pretty quick at this. And then this one allows you to fill in faces, so we're just going to manually click these. Now you can do it like this, but I wouldn't because if I just do this, as you can see, it's clicked the ones behind it, which is pretty stupid, so I wouldn't suggest dragging it at all. It's really annoying actually. I'll just click. Why isn't it working? What's going on? Oh, I have it on 0. So just manually click these to make the gem. As you can see, that looks pretty good. And then just quickly do the cloth. Probably speed this up. You guys don't really need to see it. And face. Draw it up here. Now we're going to just color pick. Oh, I really like that purple. And blammo. Alright, forgot to put the simple diffuse in. Whoops. So I should go here, grab this. This doesn't really have darker values on it, so I gotta do those manually.
Alright, so I am back from that sped up thing. One thing I noticed here is it doesn't look nice with the gradient. It changes the color too much. And so instead of just playing with the gradient, I decided just turn it off. You don't need to use the gradient all the time. Looks a lot nicer without it, I think. And I ignored the gradient for this. So I didn't add a gradient to the gem because, as you can see on the reference image, it doesn't, it's a very flat color. Could be glowing, something like that. I think it's glowing. So there's no need to add the gradient, I don't think. It's all, I imagine it's one uniform color. So I ignored the gradient for that one. Or not the gradient, simple diffuse, just completely. There shouldn't be any ambient occlusion or any gradient on it, so I ignored that. And I think that's it. I should have mentioned earlier, you can work in color if you want. It looks a lot nicer. I kind of flip-flop between them. I'm just going to keep working in material, I think. Close that. Click these so these go away. Now, this is like our things blocked out. And we're going to start with our curvature maps now. So come in here. Just want to add a new layer. I usually call them curve. You can call them whatever the hell you want. Turn these off like usual. And there are a couple of ways of doing this. Since I have a gradient on these, I tend to like make it black and then multiply as my layer mode, if I can find it. Multiply. And then turn the value down to like 50. That's kind of how I do, because you can see it's darker, but it follows the gradient. I'm pointing at my screen, but otherwise it doesn't change with the gradient. I like it changing with the gradient. You might, like, if, I don't know, if it was like edge wear, maybe you don't want it to change with the gradient, if it's like maybe paint wearing off or something, but this is how I like to do it. It doesn't let you pick the color as, like, you can't really pick the color exactly, but it is nice to have it change with the gradient. So we're going to want to add a black mask, add a generator, and come up here, instead of ambient occlusion, curvature. There's a couple of fancy ones. We don't need like dirt, or I guess it's just kind of dirt. We don't need mask editor, just curvature will do. And want to just turn your global balance up a lot, and then turn your contrast very, very high. Okay, do not turn the global balance up, but keep your contrast at like 0.9 maybe, so that it's very sharp. There's still a little bit of like softness, but it's mostly sharp. It's very well defined. And then turn that balance down, and maybe turn it up a little, so you can see it's just kind of covering those edges nicely. And I use a texture, so this is where the magic comes in. So I go in here, use texture to true, and I find a texture. The one I like to use is, I think it's like grunge wipe soft, or grunge soft. I spelled grunge wrong. Grunge wipe soft. It's this one. As you can see, nothing changes, but you need to go down into texture and turn the texture opacity up to 1. And now it's using the texture. You can see it kind of, it's like bumpy. And now this is, I was right the first time, you do want a high global balance. That's looking pretty good. So 0.8 maybe. And then turn your blur up a little bit if you want it to be softer. So is that good? Maybe a little bit higher. What's 0.2 look like? Yeah, so turn your global blur up a little bit, because that is going to be nice and spiffy. You can keep it low if you want it detailed, but I like it this way. Yeah, I don't really know why the other side isn't as rough, but that's not a big deal. So maybe turn the balance down a small bit. I'm happy with how that looks. And I would suggest playing around and finding which ones you like. I think what I'll probably end up doing when I'm doing the project properly is I go and, let's say I use this one for metals, but I use like some other texture for cloth and stuff like that. It'll give it slightly different looks. I think it'll probably look nicer if you change it depending on the material. But for this tutorial, we're just going to stick with this one map. It's the easiest way to do it. It looks fine as is. So we want to go under Assets, Filters, I think that's this one, and then just kind of look for, you can search it up as well, Matte FX Comic Book. Put it above. Now, this looks pretty cool, but it's not what we're going for in the slightest. So, I gotta stretch. What we're gonna do is go under Properties, Input Type Base Color. Well, that is what we're looking for, but scroll down, Color Intensity. It's black and white. We don't want that. So okay, well, I'll put in a value and then I'll explain my reasoning. Okay, it's a bit too saturated. You don't want it to be on 1, because that's pretty crazy looking. I guess unless you want it to be on 1, but then the colors you picked, they aren't really coming through. So I think 0.5 is a good one. So if you go under here, kind of the way I look at it is, when I'm clicking this, I want the colors to be very similar. Just when I toggle it on and off, they're pretty close. So that works out nicely. And then I want to come down, border opacity, that's this black stuff. I just set that all the way to 0. And look at that. That's looking good. There's some more values you can play around with, but even just at that, this looks pretty damn nice. Turn it on to base color maybe. Yeah. That's like, you've got a lot of depth there. Even on the other side, you can see it wasn't as rough. It still looks pretty good. And I'll just go back to material. Like, that's looking nice as hell. And yeah, I'll show you some of the stuff you can play with. You can like turn your color intensity up and down. Yeah, make it more or less saturated. Oops, that was not 0.6, that was on 0.5. And then paint intensity. It's these two. It's like that and paint intensity. So you can definitely see how that changes it. It kind of, I think it's this like border coming in from the sides. So I like it at its default value, but it does look pretty good high as well. I don't like it low. Yeah, with low it's just not there. But high value looks good. Kind of a medium value is what I like the most. Maybe I'll turn it up a little bit actually. Have it at 0.75. Yeah, actually, I like how 7.5 looks. Actually, no, I don't. I like it at 0.5. But yeah, you can play around with it there. And yeah, I think that's the most of the options here are with the border, but we don't have that. One thing I should mention is if you're getting like a weird visual thing where everything's black, I was working on a different model, and when I put this on, it was like mostly black. It's probably your input contrast. You want to turn that down to see if that fixes it, maybe. It's a bit of a pain in the ass, but I checked that if everything's black for you. It was using dark colors, so I think that was why that was happening for me. So yeah, that's how you do it. I'm just going to quickly apply this onto all the other ones with a curve thing. I'll speed it up so you don't have to bear through this. Probably already a long video, yeah. 25 fucking minutes, damn. Let's just go.
Here, copy these. Okay, I did that wrong. Yeah, you can see that, like, I don't even need to change much on this. It's already pretty good looking, but I will play around with it regardless. Kinda. Maybe if I change this to 0.1. No, 0.2 is the way to go. Close that.
Yeah, see, this is what I was talking about. Look how, like, this is so dark looking, but if I go under this and then turn my input contrast down, that fixes it, so. That still looks stupid. Maybe if I turn my color intensity up?
0.75. Yeah, it doesn't make much of a difference, because the curve map is only at the bottom, which is unfortunate, but hey. Maybe if I just turn it, yeah, turn it all on, so why isn't this changing? Oh, I should be turning it down. Oh, wait, I need to invert it here. There we go. That's why it looked weird. My dirt map was, or my curve map was wrong. Well, I guess I should turn my color intensity up again. Now, I'll go with the gem.
So, for the gem, I didn't apply the thing, the simple diffuse, no gradient, none of that stuff, so I don't need to have this multiply. I'm just going to leave it on normal, which isn't like normal, like a normal map. I find that really annoying. It's just the normal way of blending it. Let's put that back up to 1. And I'm actually going to color pick because I can. And there we go. Kind of play with it probably. It's a little too strong.
So, come in here, global balance down. I might turn the blur up for this one. Yeah, it's easy to map, but you can't really see it. And then turn this back on. Yeah, there's too much of it. It shouldn't be that color. Yeah, this is not ideal. Maybe it's just the way it's doing it. Maybe if I turn the curve off. Oh, that does kind of make a big difference. Okay, balance down even more.
That looks fine, I guess. Yeah, actually, you know what? That looks good as it is. We'll just leave it like that for now. This is not saturated enough.
It's because of my input contrast, isn't it? Yeah, it's kind of playing with those values till you get something you like, I guess. Where's my curve? This needs to be bigger.
Alright. Yeah, this is looking good. There's something else I wanted to do though. Oh yeah, so one of the differences between this one and the original one I did is I applied the comic thing to each one individually. So before, what it would do is like it would kind of bleed gold here and bleed the kind of steel and stuff like that. Same with here. didn't look good. It's nice and crisp now that it's done on the individual layers. One of the things though is that this used to kind of blur out. I don't know if it looked good. I like it without it, but I might like manually do a little. I know I said no hand painting, but I might do a little bit of painting just to glow this out and we'll see how it looks.
Okay, wrong fucking color. Okay, we'll put this up too. Pull this up. Go down here. Color pick. This. No. Okay, turn this on. Okay, I don't know why it's saving.
So, I'm back. I did a bit of hand painting. Very simple. I just wanted a circle around it. Made sure it's below the comic thing on the gold one. I don't know if I like it or not. It looks kind of cool. Maybe it's a bit too strong, but that's not really the important part. So, as you can see, I'll go back into base color. This is looking pretty good. And we haven't but generally speaking, we haven't hand painted anything. We only used one add-on. I showed you how to go around it. You see actually how that looks now. Sorry I'm rambling. It's kind of just who I am. Yeah. This is looking very similar. If you just play with the values on the other thing, it should look the same. Yeah. I think that's most of what I had to say. Turn on the ray trace and see how that looks. Give it a minute to render. Okay, it's a little desaturated, but what does the ray tracing know anyway? Stupid ray tracing. Yeah. Okay, why is that happening? Oh, just it's very thin face, I think. Yeah, all looking pretty good. Do I have anything else to say? Turn off my symmetry really quick. We'll show like some panning shots of it now. I haven't rendered all of the shots yet, but we got a 360 render. That'll be nice. I suppose before I show that, you can also come in here and apply baked lighting. I wouldn't go with stylized. It looks a bit, yeah, the stylized doesn't really work very well with this style. Because you've already done a lot of the stylizing, but the normal baked lighting does work pretty well. Make sure you, oh, voice crack, hell. Make sure you come into this and, oh, never mind. That's only in the baked one, or the stylized one. So yeah, you could use this if you want. It turns the saturation down a bit, but makes your shadows all nice. Like, look at that. That's some good stuff. Personally, I don't bother with it, but you might want to. Yeah, so we'll get some nice shots now. Once this is edited down, that's probably 25 minutes or something. Yeah, 25. It's a lot of stuff I'll have to speed up. So it's looking pretty good. Thanks for watching, I suppose. Hope this helped. Bye.